So one of the things I've characterized leading Agile as over the last couple years, as we've really refined our methodologies for doing enterprise transformation, is we're really a technology and process change management organization, right? The idea is to be able to make these changes quickly and systematically, predictably, in a way that is like connected to business value. So a lot of our methodologies really come into kind of a generalized change management framework for technology extraction and business process optimization. What are the barriers that you see in companies to introducing this kind of change?
We're starting with an organization in a system that was designed for the right reasons around the constraints that people have, right? With their ability to process information and network and work. How many things can you keep in the forefront of your mind as you're working through things, right? All of these, I think the emerging, kind of the organic emerging of these organizations all built around those structures. And at the same time, we now have this exponentially growing capability that every day it seems like it's getting cheaper and more accessible, and every day it's getting more capable. And so the incentive and the value of deploying those outcomes into my business is growing every day. So you've got a great pool to say, I want to use these systems, I want to deploy these systems at scale, right, with confidence. At the same time, we now have to look at the organization and be honest with ourselves. This is a system of people, right, with responsibilities, with inertia, with motions that all have been designed over time and refined over time in order to make that organization successful. So thing one is understand the best practices and the patterns that are emerging in this new space. And it's changing every day and it's exciting. The other big piece of this, though, is we still have to find a way to redesign the human architecture and the delivery architecture around these new capabilities. So it's not as simple as saying, let's go find the latest technology and just plug it in, because we haven't addressed the actual system that needs to use it.
Like one thread that I want to pull that I think is interesting, and is having run a consulting company for the last 15 years and worked with literally hundreds of companies in it's some form or fashion, whether in biz dev or an actual client account or whatever. Part of what I'm hunting for is that, when we're able to create a complete cross-functional team, they operate off of a clear backlog, they don't have any dependencies between them, and they can produce something of value at the end of every sprint. So anybody who's been following our stuff for a while, it's like teams, backlogs, working, tested software. We call it three things. And there's almost something implicit in that says, we're going to create this team of people that work together. We're going to limit their problem space, and we are going to reduce the cognitive load. Where you see challenges in some of these complex systems is that when there's too many dependencies between things, people don't know how to negotiate those dependencies or those interactions at scale because they can't keep the broader part of the system in their head.
Yeah, so as we deploy these tools into these motions and these systems that deliver value, we also have to make sure that we have trust and controls into all of the artifacts and the infrastructure that's built, right? So that we could continue to build on top of these things, right? We want these things to be scalable, right? Loosely coupled, right? And things that we could build within or on top of. The metaphor that I really like, and I think this is probably came out of the Agile world, was, why do vehicles or cars have brakes, right? You don't necessarily need to have brakes to have a car, right? But you can't drive fast without them. And being able to think, having that, right, as a principle governing, kind of fundamental strategy when you go to rebuild an organization and deploy AI into it, right? You have to make sure that the appropriate brakes and the monitoring and the dashboard is all there, so that as I continue to build and move faster and faster using these tools, augmenting, the people in these systems with the ability to create more value, you can't lose sight of the controls and not have the brakes in place. Else there will always be there'll always be a stiff arm, right? It'll always be more of an experiment that could be neat and could have neat outcomes, but they'll never be able to take that risk to say, I'll bet my career on that, or I'll bet next year's or next quarter's earnings on that. Because then they realize the second they get to the spreadsheet of the really cool things they want to do, they realize they can't get to those things because of technical debt, because of organizational structure, because of compliance burdens, whatever it may be. That's what we're doing at LA. We're making AI accessible, right? Because we're addressing the core fundamental first principle problems that have to be solved to bring these outcomes and these solutions into your scaled business operations.